Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's been a minute since I posted a video, so I thought why not try to get back in the swing of things with just a good old-fashioned comic book review. And what better place to start than 2025's Rob Liefeld's Youngblood #1 by Rob Liefeld. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this, but before we do, let's talk about this video sponsor, and that sponsor is me. Oh my god, I hit the wrong button. Oh, I'm a retard. Let me try one more time. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I know it's been a minute since I posted a video, so I thought what better way to get back in the swing of things than with a good old-fashioned comic book review, and what better place to start than Rob Liefeld's 2025 Youngblood #1 by Rob Liefeld. So for those of you who don't know Rob Liefeld, or just know him from Twitter, who's a guy who will pretty much interact with anybody who talks to him, it seems, Rob Liefeld is a big-time creator from the 1990s, made his name drawing the X-Books in the late 80s, early 90s, and was one of the founding members of Image Comics. And we're going to go ahead and talk about now this relaunch of his flagship title. But before we do, let's talk about this video sponsor, and that's me. I'm a creator, writer, and artist of comic books myself. I have my own titles. These are some of my newest ones, Codename Damsel 1 and 2 and The Dark Hood, both available at my website, midnightcomics.net, and I hope you guys will cruise over there and check it out and maybe even give these books a chance. But back to the review. So for those of you whose backs aren't hurting right now, Youngblood was a comic book from the early 1990s, a teen book, and it was actually the very first comic put out by Image Comics. So a little bit of historical significance back then. The original founders of Image Comic, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Jim Valentino, Eric Larson, Will Spertasio, and Mark Silvestri, the Marvel's top artists at the time, left, formed their own company, and created God's gift to man, Image Comics, in the original launch titles. If you were young enough to enjoy comic books and collect comic books in those times, you probably remember them very fondly. And so this book is meant to be kind of like a harken back, a love letter back to that time with a little bit more modern sensibility sprinkled in. So let's see, was he able to accomplish that very well with the new Youngblood title? Well, similar to its 1990s roots, this book has all the bells and whistles behind it. So tons of various covers put out by lots of today's better artists. We've got a fun trading card incentive. You were lucky enough to get your hands on one of the polybag copies of cover A of issue #1. And then you had, leading up to the release of this new Youngblood, he re-released the original first 4 issues of the series, but wasn't quite a straight re-release. These books are recolored, re-edited, and re-scripted, so the story flows a little bit better between the two teams. There's a Youngblood kind of A and B team. The 2 books used to be a flip book and flip back between the 2. This kind of puts it into one solid narrative. I really enjoyed it. It had chrome covers and everything else. If you can find a way to get your hands on them, it's a fun read if you're a fan of the old series back in the day. I enjoyed them. It was a fun way to kind of reintroduce myself to the characters. But that's the past. Let's talk about now. So the book starts off reintroducing us to Youngblood, the world's premier superhero team. They're basically controlled by the government. When something goes wrong or they need certain intervention, they send these guys in. And Rob Liefeld starts us off with a core group of kind of the big hitters of Youngblood. You've got, starting in the back, you've got Badrock. The girl in the purple is Vogue. The guy with all the guns is Chapel. Dude in front is the team leader Shaft. He's a marksman, Green Arrow type. And then you've got Die Hard, their cybernetic / android powerhouse member in the back. So for those of you who read Youngblood back in the day, this team got ungainly at one point. Dozens of members stretched over 3 ongoing titles. This brings it a little bit more concise, but at the same time, you do get a couple blurbs. Oh, there's other members out there. They're busy doing other things. And as far as Chapel goes, for those of you who are fans of Youngblood lore, I don't want to spoil it for you if you're not, but there's a reason Chapel couldn't be part with the team anymore. This appears to be the son of the original Chapel. So that's about the only change. And he does go through, each character kind of gets a little blurb page, who they are and what they're about, so a new reader coming in can know who these characters are as they're being introduced. Anyway, they're being called in because a boat has come out of nowhere and just started destroying naval ships in the ocean. So it's captained by these 2 individuals. Our new villains are not Deadpool and not Stripe / Gideon. This is Vandal and Xerxes. and they are the villains of the week today. And Youngblood's been called in to deal with them. This is a Rob Liefeld comic. Basically, the story is just enough so you understand why people in costumes are beating each other up. So the team goes in, they fight their way through a bunch of anonymous henchmen, and then finally get to the big boss fights where they take on Xerxes and Vandal. The book ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Another character cameos in on the very last page. I won't spoil who. But yeah, that's about the book. There's really not much to tell. This is a Rob Liefeld Youngblood book put out by Rob Liefeld. And one thing about Mr. Liefeld is he knows what his audience wants, and he's just kind of more than happy to give it to them. And I know there's a lot of people out there that'll say Rob Liefeld's artwork is kind of an acquired taste. I've seen the memes. Everybody's seen them. We get it with the anatomy. But the thing you have to understand about Rob Liefeld is he really is a subscriber to something that I like to just kind of call the rule of cool. So basically, if it looks cool, it doesn't have to make sense. That basically is Rob Liefeld's world. Anatomy takes a backseat to if it's awesome. I know the guys are holding guns that if they try to hold them up, their wrists would snap like twigs. And even if that didn't happen, the recoil would blow them to pieces. They bend in impossible ways. People take enormous amounts of damage and kind of just keep on going. It's very, very much an issue of its time. This is a 90s book reimagined into modern day. That's what Youngblood is. So that's your story. It's pretty bare bones, but it's a reintroduction, and this is a chapter 1. So we'll see if maybe there's some kind of nuancy stuff coming up in the future issues. I think this is probably just going to end up being Youngblood's going to save the world from guys in bad costumes, which really, again, Rob Liefeld knows what his audience wants, and he's very happy to just sit back and give it to them. Did I enjoy this book? I did. I thought it was fun. It wasn't a long read. It didn't take me very long to get to this book. And again, you're not committing into some heady, massive, galaxy brain type storyline here. This is just, hey, do you want to watch some superheroes beat up on some supervillains? Here you go. And that's what this book is. I mean, look, you got Shaft. He's a marksman. He's got arrows coming out of his wrists like Wolverine claws. Again, rule of cool. It just looks awesome, even though we know it'd probably be a pretty pointless and really ineffective weapon put into actual practice. But so Rob Liefeld does have a huge number of people who support his artwork. And for those of you who kind of look at stuff, and if you wonder why, I'm going to pose my theory to that. And it's something that I noticed a while back, because I've always been a pretty big fan of Rob Liefeld, even though even myself has seen stuff that he's drawn that I've been kind of critical of. Even in this book here, there are a couple of panels that are a bit rough, a few pages where I kind of feel like he wanted to get this page done so he could just get on to the next one or just get the book done by the time he needed to be finished. So yeah, I mean, this isn't a perfect book, but it's a good book. 8.5 out of 10. We'll just call it that. So, but one of the things that I think Rob Liefeld is actually a master of that a lot of comic book artists aren't is the way he puts his page together. And I put this page from the book out as an example. He is just a master of guiding your eye from exactly where he wants you to look at. So if you look at the motion of every panel, and I kind of guided it out with this little bit of a green line here, his art, the motion of the characters, the way he puts everything together, his composition, it guides your eyes to what he wants you to see. So a lot of the time, even if there are flaws in this panel, a lot of people are going to look past them because he wants your eyes to look past them. And he's put this book together in a way that guides your eyes to only see the action, the prominent things that are being featured on this page, the big important beats. And if you step back and look at it and almost kind of let it go out of focus for a second, you just see the motion of it. And most of his pages are like this. He's actually really, really good at putting together and composing a comic book page. I think is his greatest strength above all. So if there's people out there in the world who can look at a Rob Liefeld book, don't really appreciate their art and don't understand why it's appealing to them, I think this is why it appeals to you, because every book he puts together is almost a masterclass in how to lay out a page, especially an action page. That is his strength. That is what he's best at. So at the end, yeah, I mean, Youngblood #1, I think is definitely worth the $4.99, depending on which cover you end up able to find and which one makes you happy. If you want to try to collect all the trading cards, go right ahead. They're there for your enjoyment. But it's not a perfect book. It has some flaws. Like I said, a few of the pages were a little bit rough. The story, there's not a lot to it. It's a big bad guy in a big old armored suit with an evil henchman fighting a superhero team. And we don't really know why. I think we will know why, but we don't really need to. It was what it was. If you weren't a fan of the original Youngblood series, or you've never picked it up, never read it, you're not really going to be missing much by picking this up. You get a little explanation of who the characters are. It's not relying on too much lore for you to understand what the storyline is. And for those of you who were fans of the old comic, there is enough in there for you to feel like this is a continuation of the original series. Some of the other characters are mentioned. There is a couple of characters that pop in here that are from the older series, and while they kind of get explained a little bit in the book, for those of us who read the books before, you're going to be happy to see him again. That's really all that you can ask for from this book. But that's not really the question I think this book asks. The really big question for Youngblood right now is, in today's climate, in today's world of comics, is there a place for Youngblood in it anymore? Have these guys, has their time passed? Are they just an antiquated refugee from the 1990s now that aren't welcome in today's comic landscape? Or is it possible that these characters are going to find room again to thrive and grow? And I don't know the answer to that. I hope the answer is yes, because I think comic books are first and foremost a form of escapist art. I think they're meant to be fun. I think they're meant to engage you at a level that you want to be engaged. If you want to go read The Watchmen exists. If you want to just be able to kick back in a chair, pick up a book out of a stack and read it and enjoy it, a book like Youngblood exists. And I think that the people who give you this book know that about it. And you can tell in the panels, and you can tell in the writing that Rob Liefeld was having fun being back with these characters again, drawing these guys again, writing their dialogue again. And I hope they find their audience. I really do. I think that the comics world, the world of comics, is not better off with Rob Liefeld not doing a comic. And I also think that the world of comics is better served that books like Youngblood exist. Something that a casual reader can come in and read. An old school comic fan like me can find something that gives them a bit of nostalgia. And maybe even just somebody who needs a book to read to kill 20 minutes in a day is going to find it and find that there was probably worse ways they could have spent that time. That's what Youngblood does. I hope that more comics like this kind of find their way into the mainstream. Not necessarily nostalgia like this, but just something fun, just something that brings comic books back to what they used to be, when it used to be, huge, muscular, gigantically not possible to exist in the real world type characters just fighting each other in unrealistic scenarios. That's really all I want. And like I said, you could do a lot of worse with 20 minutes than read the new Youngblood. So that's it. That's my review of the book. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys want to check out more of my videos, as I'm going to try to post a few more. If you like this one, please hit like and subscribe and help this video reach more people if possible. And I will be back soon with another comic review or maybe a commentary. I don't know. It just kind of depends on what the world throws at me, I suppose. But in the meantime, that's it. Go read some comics. Bye.